everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bobble Pod. On this episode, we're going to be talking about, wait for it, why you should consider leaving the UK. I know, I said it. Wow, don't shoot me. Don't shoot the messenger. But before I always begin, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. And if on YouTube, hello YouTube. Don't forget to click on the bell notification. Episodes come out every Tuesday. So I've just come back from Dubai. And this is another episode about, the truth about Dubai or the UAE. I've already explained why that country is already better. But it was quite interesting. I mean, it is better in most ways. I know you're laughing. But you should listen to that podcast, Jim.
Okay.
You should. It's like, I know everything laughing, but trust me. Right now, it is better. It's a better place to be for businesses. And the reason I'm doing this podcast is because I came across a tweet that went viral by Danny Buck. Do you know Danny Buck?
I don't think I know Danny Buck.
No, so Danny Buck...
Should I?
You're going to hear a bit of TikTok music come along, but Danny Buck, CEO of Crafted, one of the top 15 fastest growing companies in the UK. And I'm going to read this out, and it's really important. And it wasn't something, it was only because it came up this past weekend. And he goes, the potential version of the future UK worries me immensely. I want to leave. My fellow business friends, founders, and other entrepreneurs do too. I've created jobs to over 200 people, and although I have a different view on modern work, I have a voice and I have to say something. This is an open letter to Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. He goes, I write to you to encourage you to rethink the increase in capital gains tax from 20% to 39%. At 22, I started my first business. I've been broke, had mental health struggles, immense stress, and found ways to make it work. I've created ventures that have provided people a livelihood, supported families, helped create jobs to thousands of people connected to the brands we've built, and what I would hope at the end of the day would reward me one day a return. If this change happens, then there is no point building anything of value in the UK. No benefit for delayed gratification or taking any risk. I currently pay tax when I create money, pay tax when I spend money, and if I choose to invest any, I pay tax there too. After all these taxes, I've managed to create the 15th fastest growing business in the UK, and if I make any gains on it, I'll lose 39% to tax too. I don't want to work 2/3 of my life for free. I want to create things that make people's lives better, grow the economy, and live. We regularly donate to charities of our choice, and I'm very happy with the taxes helping the public sector. He goes, particularly the NHS, where some of his family work inside. What are the choices for someone like me? Leave and go to Dubai? ? It's tempting. I have a family here, but I want to create, build, and be entrepreneurial. What incentives will you give? Thank you for listening. I hope you do, Danny Buck. Round of applause to Danny Buck. Hit the nail on the head. And I've been saying this for weeks, haven't I, Laura? I was like, I came back from Abu Dhabi, and I was there with V-Up and IDS, and we were gonna do that talk this time of my journey to Elements, but we've pushed that back in terms of diary conflicts. And I was looking at my new Bobble Insights company, and should I set it up in the UK or out there? There's more investors out there. There's more appetite for business out there. There's better incentives out there. So, and I'm going to say this, if you work 9 to 5, you have no right to criticize right now. Go back to your 9 to 5. I don't care. You might not like that, but I'm being blunt. I do not care about your opinion. You work 9 to 5. I worked 9 to 5, saved 300 grand and invested into Bobble Digital and what it is today. I have made a huge financial risk, and I've created jobs, livelihoods of Laura. I support businesses. I support you, James. You make money from doing this podcast with us. Josh, when you left it into marketing a bit after me, how much work have I given you during that time? So I'm not just helping people with their income and paying their mortgages and supporting their families. I'm helping other businesses and suppliers that actually provide services to us, which supports the economy and everything in between. The risk I've taken, I should get a reward afterwards because I get paid the least amount of anyone in my company because it's not beneficial to take a wage from your own company. We work on dividends. Or we work on the prospect that in 10 years' time, if I invested 300 grand, I can make 3 million selling the company off. That's my payday. But in the 10 years, I've sacrificed everything. Time with family, traveling, working 18 hours days. So if you work 9 to 5, I don't care. You can hate, you can comment, but it's a moot point. Your opinion is irrelevant right now because you're not willing to take the risk. And if anyone points a picture at me, I'm going to say, well, hang on. My kidneys failed in January 2017 whilst I was working for internet marketing. You remember, Josh. You were there. I'd already gone down to part-time hours. And at that time when I had uncertainty in life and my doctor said you'd be lucky to last 5 to 10 years on dialysis, I was like, I'm not going to waste my time. I left into marketing. I left job security while I was on dialysis and set up Bobble Digital. And 7 years later, we're close to turning over $1 million. That's a success story in itself. But it's not been easy. I haven't earned £1 million. The company revenue's nearly £1 million. And this is why I talk about why you should consider leaving the UK, because Danny's right. There's no incentive anymore for me to work or grow my team. The new roles coming in around employment don't help small businesses at all. Big businesses can absorb that in because they've got more money to play with. They can make cuts where they want. I can't do that. It makes it harder for me to hire. I have to be more selective with who I hire. When you're growing a company, there's a famous saying, hire fast, fire faster. With these law changes that they want to bring in potentially by 2026, I'm thinking, do I really want to grow my team here in the UK? I have a UAE entity for Bobble Digital. Shall I just grow my team out there? It benefits me more. And you have to be selfish because if hypothetically you have £1 million turnover business, and this is why people say, oh yeah, but you're a business owner and all this. No, you don't understand a thing about business owner if you work 9 to 5. And I get it, some people can't take that risk and not everyone's a business owner, but why penalise those people that are creating something for the country, creating something that supports the economy? You're forcing us out. You're forcing me out. I'm only waiting for a budget on the 30th of October to decide whether I keep one foot in or take both feet out of the UK right now. Literally, it's the budget that decides. It's the government that decides, because where's the incentive? Where's the reward that I'm going to get in 10 years' time when I sell my agency if I have to give nearly 60% or 50% of what I've earned for my risk and my time investment to the government? Why are they entitled to 50%? So if I make 3 million, what am I going to make? 1.5? Why does the government deserve 1.5? I've paid you VAT, I've paid you corporation tax, I've paid you everything else, and I don't mind paying the 20%. I can live with that. I don't mind giving you, again, 600 grand for free for nothing because you want to implement a tax. But now you want 40%? Where's the incentive? Why should I even think about selling my company? Why don't I just move it over? And it's the same with people that work hard. So the example I'm going to give, and people don't really understand this, is you got £1 million company. After all costs, let's say you're left with a gross profit of £250,000, which for a £1 million turnover company, 25% margin is very, very good in this economy. That's not me. I'm just giving it as an example. On that 250 grand in the UK, you pay a corporation tax of 25%. So the government on that 250 grand will instantly take, 62.5 grand. So you're left with £187,500. Now, as I said, I take the bare minimum. I think my wage pays me £1,000 a month. Transparently, that goes to support my mum and the bills towards the house. There's £1,000 gone. I keep nothing for myself. The only way I make a bit extra money is the company owes me 300 grand and I charge interest, which bridges the gap. But if I was to turn that into wages, it's only like a 25 grand a year wage. It's nothing, really. But by being a business owner, you benefit from, let's say, my car is a company car. So I don't pay for my car, I don't pay for my fuel, the insurances of it. So I can offset costs like laptop, mobile phones costs into my business. But that's one of the perks of running a business, is that you can offset key costs. But the risk is with that business. The business needs to run for me to be able to afford the car and still have the phone and all these luxuries. So you're left with 187,500. You might take a dividend. So as a CEO, you might be expected to take a dividend, let's say, of 100 grand, right? I don't get 100 grand. I got to give 40% in income tax to the government. So from 250 grand gross profit, for me to make 60 grand, the government makes 102,500, and I'm only left with 87 grand to reinvest in my company, new wages, improved wages, better facilities and stuff. Tell me how that makes sense. For me to make 60 grand after helping build a $1 million turnover company, the government makes 10% of the total revenue, 100 grand, on top of anything else you're paying in terms of national insurance contributions as employer, pension contributions, anything else that we do. It just makes no sense. I'm literally working for the government to earn more money than me. And I wouldn't mind if public service was good in education, in transport, in health, security was good. My people I talk to in London that just don't want to walk, can't walk. Women are unsafe to walk the streets of London. Knife crime through the roof. Police, don't even know why you exist, to be completely honest with you. There's no fear of police. Now I talk about Dubai, there's fear of police. You will not break the laws of Dubai, even if you're a tourist, because there's a fear there of what could happen to you. That doesn't mean it's going to happen to you, but there's a fear. That means you respect the law and you respect the police. Now, let's say I take that monetary value and I use that business model, exact same business model in the UAE. Here's the difference. Same 250 grand value, 9% corporation tax. So out of the 250 grand, 22 grand goes to the government. And that's only after a certain profit margin, by the way. I have to make that very, very clear. You pay corporation tax on any gross profit, right? Then, if I take 100 grand out, there's no income tax. I keep 100 grand. But in fairness, you're not paying national insurance, you're not paying income tax. So you have to pay for your own education, you have to pay for your own health insurance. But after all those costs, it's better health, it's better education, it's better transport that the government invests in. So you're actually better off financially. And I still have over 120 grand left to reinvest into my company. So why wouldn't I do that? I make more money. My company makes more money. I can hire more people. I can give better wages. And I have better health, security, a better standard of living. And this is the bit where Danny's trying to get to. It's like, you can't just keep taxing everyone and taxing us. And it's not a rant that I'm trying to do on this podcast. It's like I'm supporting Danny Buck. Like, listen to us. Like, the amount of times when small businesses account for 50% of the economy and jobs. So if you're 9 to 5 and you think, all this should come into place, then you're putting your jobs at risk. We do wage reviews every 6 months. And if these changes come into place, I'm going to move back to yearly wage reviews. So who loses out? Laura, everyone. I'm going to have to relook at suppliers and what we do and how many times we do, because you've got to keep the business profitable to be able to reinvest in it and grow it. I can't just keep hemorrhaging money and keeping the government loads of money and not have nothing left over at the end of the day. It just doesn't make financial sense. I'm working 18 hours days. At least I want to see some kind of reward or light at the end of the tunnel of why I'm doing it. Because just because most of the population aren't, and a few of us does that mean we should get penalised because we're the ones willing to get off our asses and actually work 18 days? Like, you might not like how I say that, but I don't judge people that do 9 to 5. That's not my lifestyle. I want a better standard of life. I didn't come from a trust fund. I came from poverty. My parents were immigrants to this country. My mum worked 3 jobs. My dad worked in a foundry. And there was 9 of us in a semi-detached house. Put that into context back then. I'm the first one in my family to actually set up and start a business. I'm first generation British, born in Leeds. I'm proud to be from Leeds. But I'm thinking, why would I want to get married here? Why would I even want to settle here? Why would I raise kids into this woke school ethic and poor education? I talk to my mates that have school education in UAE, and at the age of 12, they're learning how to build an F1 team and talking about aerodynamics and strategy and engineering. 12 years here, still don't know the times tables. The education comparison is mad. You can't even get into certain schools out there because it's really expensive because they have a teacher shortages. Teachers are leaving here in the UK in droves. It's like if you and if you go to London, you need to be earning six figures to live comfortably or have a decent living in London. So if you say 100 grand's a lot, bear in mind after income tax and corporation tax, the government makes more money than I do. Then where's the incentive? And I agree with Danny. What is the option for people like us? It is to say, right, well, bye, see you later. And I guarantee you, when all of us start leaving, who's going to pay the wages? Who's going to contribute towards the economy? Who's going to build the new businesses? Who's going to pay all that tax? It's going to be the 9 to 5. And nobody really considers that. The more, and I get it in terms of big businesses taking advantage, and I'm right. Because if you decide, and this is one thing I will criticize large and enterprises for, and let's take retail supermarkets. If they decided to reduce VAT from 20% down to, let's say, 15%, which they won't do, remember it used to be 17.5%, do you think you would get the benefit of that in your shopping? I'm asking you a question, James. Do you think you would get that 5% saving?
It did happen, didn't it? It was 17.5 and they dropped it to 15, and some places passed it on, some didn't.
Exactly. The big companies, they don't give a shit. They're going to be like, ooh, I can make 5% here more.
Yeah.
I'm going to increase my prices. I'm not going to give that back to the customer. We don't care about the customer. The customer's still going to have to come to a Tesco or a Sainsbury's or a Morrison's or Asda, wherever it is. I'm not saying they would do that. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if they did. And it's the fuel companies, when they reduce the fuel duty tax, they just crap up the fuel prices to make their margins. They don't care. You're still going to need fuel. These necessities where they cut elements back, the big companies. So penalise them. Why penalise us? Make it make sense. This is the bit that just gets me frustrated. It's like, make it make sense. Penalise them. Make it, if you reduce VAT down 75%, make it clear in law that you can't make the difference. You know what I mean? We're giving this to the public to make the public's life easier. And let's take business, for example, small businesses. And you say, well, what would you do? Would you run this country better? I'll tell you what, 100% hand on heart, God as my witness, yes. Because it takes a business mind to be able to understand money in, money out, efficiencies, process, systems, what works, what doesn't work. As a business owner, as a leader, you bring in the best for them to tell you what to do, not to dictate. And now, if you look at Keir Starmer or any previous, and I'm not just blaming it all on Labour because they've been in for 100 days, let's look at the 15 years previously to Tories. So this isn't anything political in that sense. They're both as bad as each other. You know, you think about it, it's like Keir Starmer was a lawyer, and his law was around immigration rights, and them getting money is coming over as immigration rights, which has probably led to the big rights and problems we have today. So irony, in my opinion, in that sense. But what credentials does he have to run a country, other than I was a lawyer and I've been in politics? Politics is and I think if you watch the Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, and the one with Boris Johnson, people can't get into politics because it's I went to Eton and you're my friend, so if you do this for me, I'll put you on the cabinet. That's how your government works. Favours. I mean, he's been in office 100 days. He's getting free boxes at Arsenal Football Club. I mean, the Chancellor is claiming back the cost of doing her tax return or her finances. It's like, oh my God, I mean, you guys don't really, I mean, public probably don't care or too bothered to read about it, but the wastage, the fact that they're claiming all this back, and on the other hand saying, all right, we need to save 1.25 billion by getting rid of winter fuel payments. It's like, well, hang on, lead by example. Make sacrifices yourself. I'd be in no right to have this conversation if I was living it up, driving Ferraris and saying, I want more money, I want more money. No, I'm not living well. I'm making sure my staff live well. I'm making sure my small suppliers get paid on time so they can live well. And I'm a small business owner, I'm a micro business owner at this stage. So what's the incentive? The incentive is leave. And maybe if a better political party comes over and decides to run the country properly and incentivize business and growth and investment here, maybe, I might come back. But until then, it's like, there is no incentive to be here. It sounds very depressing, doesn't it? I'm sorry, James.
I did have to laugh when Keir Starmer did his. He actually did a podcast, didn't he, to celebrate to mark the 100 days, and he said, "This is the hardest job that I've ever done," and I thought, yeah, mate, you're running the country. Kind of should be the hardest job that you've ever done.
Yeah.
It's as if he was surprised that it was the hardest job that he's ever done. Is now a good time to ask for a pay rise? I think
the thing is, we do wage reviews
that was
every
an
6
expression
months.
that says no.
No, well, probably before the 30th, after the 30th, I don't know. I don't know how much I'm going to get penalised.
I was joking. I did joke before we started recording saying, is this one of those podcasts where I'll ask one question and then you'll be off on a rant? I didn't even ask for one question.
Straight in.
It was just straight in.
That's because I fell and I hurt my finger, so the anger was already frustrated.
But it's obviously pent up beyond that. So my question is, so why is it cheaper in Dubai? What's Dubai doing that the UK is not? Or what's the UK doing that Dubai isn't? Why is it so different?
Well, first of all, the UK is full of incompetent MPs and cabinet and prime ministers. So as an investor, you're thinking, no, I'm sorry, these guys are a bit dodgy. I don't know what they're going to do with the country. Economically, the country was stable before the election, and things were heading in the right direction. And then, for some odd reason, they decided to call an election and just decided to create chaos again. What Dubai is doing is the difference is, okay, the difference between Dubai and the UK is Dubai and the UAE, it's a monarchy. So there's no political party coming in every 5 years to fuck up what the other good thing the party did because they just disagree with it. You see what I mean? So
hang on. Are you saying democracy is a bad thing?
We've made democracy a bad thing.
Okay.
And there's clear evidence for this. Because Keir Starmer said, I'm not going to increase taxes, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that. And within 100 days of coming in, I'm going to have to make tough choices. We all know what that means.
Yeah.
There should be laws against people like that to lie on a campaign to the public to say, I'm not going to do that because he had full visibility through the OBS reports of the country's finances and then lies about a 22 billion hole, which he's been called out of, which 9 billion he's responsible for his inflated wage increases through the unions. So they lie to your face. Democracy isn't about electing someone for them to go do what they want. They're essentially a dictator then. We voted, or however you voted for change, you voted for no increase in taxes. I guarantee you all the elderly Labour people didn't vote for a cancellation of their winter fuel payment. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure they didn't vote for 3 billion to go to Ukraine every year instead. That's 15 billion. Where does this money come from? Mm. The same money that comes to give Ukraine 3 billion, where does it come from? Why don't we turn around and say to Ukraine, you know what? We can't afford 3 billion because the war you're creating with Russia is actually having an impact on our winter fuel payments. So we'll give you 1.5 instead because then I don't want to have to take 1.25 off my pensioners. Right? I'll keep that 1.5 there. That's still 7.5 billion. We talk about billions like they're pounds and pennies in government. So yes, democracy does not work, especially when it's a socialist one, in my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, which is what we're in now. It doesn't work because they're spending money like kids at a candy store. There's no limit. No, there's no operational management. There's no auditing of what's going on. Someone comes in, we're going to do this, this, and this. And before you know it, so Boris Johnson was the last Tory that went to an election, right? Before him, it was, what was her name? Before Boris Johnson, it was
Theresa May.
Theresa May. She wasn't elected by the public. She was elected by the party. After Boris Johnson, elected by the party was Liz Truss, who got beat by a lettuce. Then it was, because she did such a bad job, the rest of the Tory party members said, Rishi Sunak, we're sorry, we should have voted for you. Please come back and save the economy from bankruptcy. And fair play to him. Great chancellor, probably a mediocre prime minister, but still did a good job and stabilised the country, got it back into growth. And then everybody, only 13% of the UK population actually voted for Labour. Is that representative? Is that democracy?
Well, no.
You have a majority
in the... There's a lot going on there.
You have a majority in Parliament based on 600,000 fewer votes than when Jeremy Corbyn went for election.
Yeah.
You have had 180 or 200 more seats. So does the political system work?
No, of course it doesn't.
Is it representative?
And I think we all know that, don't we? That it doesn't work, and it works in a certain way, and you can lose the popular vote but be elected, as you can in America. It's the same in the US.
Does democracy work? My opinion, right now, no. It used to, but people have become power hungry, greedy. Keir Starmer was no different to any of them. Look at it, it's already come out. The difference is for Keir Starmer now is like you're in the spotlight now. So everything you do is scrutinized. Everywhere you go, every money you spend, every gift you take, they're going to be scrutinizing you so much. So you should have had all this in check before you became Prime Minister, to be honest with you. It's just shocking and appalling. There's nothing different in terms of what he's doing, except he's making worse decisions about increasing tax, which is creating a weaker UK economy. Now compare that to UAE, it's a monarchy. You're never going to overthrow that monarchy. You can't become a citizen of the UAE. You can become a resident. But they reinvest and they attract investment. They attract high-level teachers. They attract people from different countries. I'm not saying it's perfect. There's cheap labour in the UAE. That's not what attracts me, because if I still hire people, I'm paying higher wages than what I pay in the UK. But there is a lot of cheap labour in certain areas like hospitality and construction, which is a big area of what they're doing. But they've gone from a desert to such a technologically advanced city and country in the matter of 40 years. That doesn't happen from electing people. That happens from having a vision for your country, a future plan for your country, and sticking to that plan, and not having external factors or a different political party say, no, we disagree, and hold that progress. The problem we have is an infrastructure problem in the UK anyway, so we can't even advance much beyond the train lines we have, which is why HS2 takes 100 billion instead of 10 billion that was originally calculated. And the fact that we can get that calculation so wrong and it's not even going to come up to Leeds is a different question altogether. But they're built from scratch, so they have an advantage in terms of infrastructure. But if something's not right, they invest in the right areas. And you want to stay there because of the benefits that come from that investment into a better standard of life. The fact that it attracts more wealthy people, it attracts better levels of who will invest in terms of wealthy people. It attracts better candidates of people that want to achieve more with their career. People are leaving London to go to the UAE because the 150 grand they're making in London, they're only living off like 70 grand. But in the UAE, they're living off 150 grand. Not going to name him, but I know a mate of mine who's been out there 3 years and paid his mortgage off in the UK. 3 years. 25-year mortgage paid off in 3 years because of no income tax. So, is it better? Does a monarchy work better? If it's the right monarchy and the UAE is the right monarchy, and all the surrounding countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Oman, Bahrain are following their lead and coming to terms with actually this is how you do it, then they can build the biggest skyscraper in the world. They can build anything faster, quicker, because it's needed and it's done well. It's money spent in the right places, not in the wrong places. And if it doesn't work, right, didn't work, how do we make the best of a bad situation? Or do we scrap it and start again? Scrap it, start again. So no, democracy doesn't work. We are making democracy fail.
Well, this has been an uplifting episode.
No, it's just true. So I am really thinking about it. The good thing I did was in 2023, I set up a UAE entity of Bobble Digital. We've got clients out there. One of our UK clients went out there, took us with them. And I've got really tough decisions to make in the next 6 months. And I don't think I want to set up I don't even think I want to set up the tech arm of Bobble Insights in the UK. I think I'd be more of an attractive proposition being in the UAE in terms of investments. Consider that. I've just said, I believe my company would be more attractive to investors by setting it up in the UAE over the UK. Thank you, you failed as a country and as a government. That's all I have to say. So yeah, I think people should start considering about their futures. If they want a better life for their children, if they want a better life for themselves to work a 9 to 5, if they want to earn more money, there's a whole world out there outside the United Kingdom. Go explore it. and the first person I'd consider you exploring is the Middle East. And I know there's a bit of tension going on there, but I'll tell you what, they're focused on their vision. They're not going to get distracted by all the politics and the warmongering and everything that's going on around it. They're just focused on their mission. And I praise them for that. And when you go there, you're like, oh, it's like that aha moment. It's like, yes, it's like you're going into the future of how things should be. When you come back, it's like, and then the minute you watch the news, and it's like, what am I still doing here? So I agree with Danny Buck. Well said, mate. Credit to you. And it's nice for someone who's running the 15th fastest growing UK in the country to have that open letter on X and Twitter, because we're small businesses. Maybe 100, 200 people might listen to this podcast, fair enough. But he's got a bigger voice and he's got a bigger platform to make his voice heard. And I support it. And we're just not listened to and we're forgotten about. And we're the ones picking up all the pieces and paying off all the expensive bills the government creates because of their inadequacy and the incompetency of spending money wisely and fixing things. So one question someone asked me is like, what would you do? What would I do different? Right. So we pay VAT every quarter, correct? I don't know if you do or if you're VAT registered, but I do. So you could create a system where if you're a micro company up to an SME, up to turnover, that they could claim back up to, let's say, 50%. So if your turnover is, let's say, 500,000, you could claim up to 50% back of your VAT return. If you're showcasing, you're increasing wages, you're investing into business development and marketing, and you're growing your company. And you're using that money to regrow instead of having to go to a finance broker or something, right? And you could create levels up to 10 million. So like between 2.5 million or between 5 million and 10 million, it could be just 10%. And then after that, you got to stop, right? But then between 2.5 million and 5 million, it could be like 20%. And then you could create barriers. And so that when you submit your return, you submit your claim at the same time saying, actually, I'm going to claim back up to 50%, and it can be evidence after. That actually, instead of paying 18 grand every quarter in VAT bill to the government, let me keep 8 grand of that to reinvest into my company. Which means I'm onboarding more clients, charging more VAT, hiring more people, paying more national insurance, they're paying more income tax. The money they do goes back into the economy, and it's a snowball effect. And you could do that to help all the small SME businesses. As a policy, that works, but no, they just want the VAT money. So that would be an incentive to say, actually, no, if I'm a small business I'm starting up, I know at certain levels I can claim 50, 40, 30, 20, 10% back, which relieves the pressure financially on my company, which is the growth cash pains we have in the company, but allows me to focus more on growth. But you have to clear evidence and set clear markers to do that. Is that a bad policy?
That makes sense to me. Right, our next podcast recording is the day before the budget. Just an idea, Mr. Bobble's alternative budget 2024.
I don't know if we should...
Can you dig out a few more policies?
I would scrap any ideas around capital gains tax, because then if they keep it at 20%, I will keep investing in the UK, because then there's reward to the risk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If they roll back and review some of these employment laws, then I'm more likely to hire in the UK than I am to invest more in the UAE and hire out there. Give me a reason to stay. Your policies are not giving me a reason to stay. They're not giving me confidence, and they're not giving businesses confidence, which says I'm not going to affect on our ability to onboard clients. We're in a cost of living crisis. Winter's going to be hard. People's bills are going up, and you've just scrapped 1.25 billion in support of people be able to spend. You're making it difficult. Make it easier. Make tough decisions on foreign aid and other areas first. Yeah. Before. Help those at home. It'd be stupid of me to start helping other companies without helping Bobble Digital first. You support your home, you feed your home, you put a roof over your head first, you make sure you're taken care of. Then you can take care of your brother. Then you can take care of your family. Then you can take care of your friends. We're not doing that approach in the UK. We're not taking care of ourselves, which is what we need to do. Get ourselves in a position to be a good, strong economy, and then you can start saying, right, we've helped you now, it's time for you guys to help the government back a little. And at which point I'd be like, yeah, sure, not a problem.
Okay.
But I have to wait for what comes out on the budget before I decide if it's worthwhile. And that's what I'm waiting for. The 30th of October is going to be a big crunch day and a big moment for me in terms of how I take this company, my new company, forward over the next 5 years. And it's 5 years. I bet. Here's a prediction. I don't think Keir Starmer will be Prime Minister in 2 years' time. And I think there'll be another election within 5 years. If he continues on the path he's on, he'll have lost all confidence. And I think we'll have an election in the next 5 years, within the next 5 years. And I don't think he'll be Prime Minister. And I'm willing to put a lot of money on that.
Okay. Well, our next guest has arrived, so we are going to have to wrap this one up.
Yeah, sorry for the rant. But I'm sure we'll be able to make some great, cancelling type of content to post on social media of me ranting to everyone. But it's something that you have to share your opinion. You have to show to others. And I guarantee you, I'm not the only small business owner that thinks like this. There's a lot out there. And the only reason I share it is because I said I'm going to be uncensored. I'm going to get to the points of issue. I've done that. I'm grateful to everybody who's messaged me, who's called me, who's talked to me within the Leeds community, that's seen my content and actually praised me for saying what I've said and how honest it's been. The feedback's great, and that's why I continue. I'm not going to change on this path. So you either like the content, you don't. But if you resonate with it, reach out. Maybe we can have a conversation. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.